Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
Hey, everybody. Man, I feel like I just blew in on the wind. It has been a hectic day, a hectic week, and I'm sure I am not alone in this because of course, we're right in the holiday season. And I do want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and whatever you celebrate. I'm wishing you much happiness and joy. And we should all celebrate together, no matter what our cultural beliefs are. I think we should all be happy and celebrate each other, our likeness as well as our differences. I think that's what makes the world wonderful. But anyhow, I'm really excited about tonight's show, partially because of the week that I have had. It's been so mad, and I'm looking for this to be like an moment for me. Now, I became aware of my guest tonight when I saw her on a friend's channel and saw her do an interview there. So I quickly got on the computer and typed my friend and said, "Can I get Cheryl on my show?" And she goes, "Well, I will ask." So she graciously agreed to appear. And my guest tonight is Cheryl Blossom. She's going to be talking about multidimensional awareness healing. Now, when I heard about it on my friend Ellie's show, that's the first time I'd ever heard that term. So don't ask me too much about it, because we've got the expert here. So we're going to ask her. Welcome to the show, Cheryl.
Thank you. Hi, Renee.
Good to see you again, although you haven't seen me before. I've seen you.
I know. It's great to meet you. Yes, very good.
It's wonderful to meet you too. Now, maybe before we get started, we could talk a little bit about your background, and which is varied, and you have a lot of training in certain areas. But also, I wanted to speak to you just for a second. I don't want to take too much time up, but I'm so interested in the work that you've done to end world hunger. My goodness.
Yeah, a lot of work around that with Save the Children. We used to put on relay runs all across the United States to raise money locally for Hunger Project area. And then we put together a whole group that ran from California to New York to deliver a proclamation to the UN that hunger could be ended. It was really the shift of realizing that we had enough food production on the planet. It would take something for us to collectively hold that was going to be our top priority. Now, it didn't kind of turn out the way we had hoped it would, but there is a realization that we do produce enough food to feed everybody.
We do. I know that's true. It's just a matter of getting it where it needs to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah, if we as a collective human, collection here of thinking, we could actually do that. And there's a lot at play at that. So I was young and really enthusiastic about, we're going to do this. And then I worked for about 5 years taking runners to Moscow to run in the Peace Marathon.
Right. And interesting.
Yes, isn't it though? Yeah. And then the runners from about 22 different countries. Last time we went, we took 300 runners from 22 different countries, and they all raised money. We raised millions of dollars for different hunger project, different groups locally to
Right.
deal with ending hunger. So basically, if you wanted to be part of the relay, you could raise money for whatever soup kitchen or whoever you wanted to raise money for. We
Well,
weren't
I was
collecting the money.
reading in your material that you actually organized this thing, and you organized runners from 22 countries
Yeah.
to do this thing. Oh my gosh,
It
that must
was crazy. It was crazy because back then the Soviet Union wasn't open. It's not like, well, I don't know what it's like now, but it
yeah, I
got
think
to
it's
the point.
closed now, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it's closed. But it was one of those things where we had to warn all the runners, don't take jeans to try to exchange them, because if you get arrested, we're leaving and we're not going to be responsible for getting you out of Russia. It's like basically, don't be taking dollar bills. Don't, these are the rules that you have to follow. So it was
I mean, well,
challenge.
yeah, it's quite poignant that, that's the location where you were, doing the peace run.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just curious, and I won't stay on this too long, but have you heard of this new woman that is coming on the scene? Ekaterina Dunstova.
No.
She has registered to run for president of Russia. She's a
Oh,
40
right. Okay. Yes.
and she's running on a peace platform, and she's really gaining a groundswell of support, especially underneath the surface, because people are afraid to be too vocal there. But
Courageous.
I'm beginning to see or feel like something's going on there. And not that I think she will win, because I don't believe that would be allowed. But I think she's really going to be sort of breaking the ice, or, setting the tone or the pace for whoever's going to come after her. And I think it will eventually, hopefully, become a democracy, or at least more democratic. But yeah, I've got my eyeballs on her, and
Yeah, I hope it opens up back again, because it's just when I watch what's going on over there, and I have friends that I developed with the running clubs over there. And it just, I don't know, it breaks my heart. And in Navalny and the whole thing, it just is like, woo. But, we got to be concerned about over here.
that's true. That's true. But you know what? It's all connected.
Yeah, that's
What
true.
goes on there absolutely affects us here, and vice versa. I mean, what America does affects the whole world. So
Yes.
the eyes are always on America. But
Yeah.
anyhow, maybe we can get into some interdimensional earth healing or something. Just healing the whole planet.
That's a great Christmas thing to do.
Yeah.
Let's go for it, Ray. I'm all in.
I know, and we'll give information before we get out of here tonight about how people can reach you, if that's possible.
Yeah.
But can you just first explain what is interdimensional awareness healing?
Yeah, multidimensional awareness healing. Yeah, it's basically that the more we can kind of move back and become aware of all the threads of the things that is affecting an illness or an injury or something like that, we can start to heal the many dimensions that this lifetime that we're inhabiting. It's a bit like when you're listening to something, you may not be watching something. So that's one dimension, you're hearing. If you're looking at something and you're not necessarily listening, that's another dimension. If you're eating food and you're not aware of seeing or hearing, that's another dimension. But when you start to put it all together, if you're looking at your meal and you're tasting it and you're seeing it and you bring all these dimensions together, there's a congruency or a place of experiencing it that's very different than when you're just experiencing it by being able to, let's say, see it. Let's say you see a lovely piece of cake, but you're not tasting it. That's one dimension of experiencing it. But adding taste and seeing brings a whole new dimension. So we're multidimensional beings inhabiting this physical expression of all that multidimensional being. And so the work I do basically, we travel to maybe past lives that affect the injury or affect the illness. We travel to maybe when you were younger, or sometimes there's future stuff involved too. But that's a little beyond the scope of having this conversation tonight. But we're all aware of, there were things that happened in our childhood, and we may be repeating the pattern over and over and over again. What I do is I really reach into the pattern that's repeating over and over again and expand one's awareness to capture the place maybe up in the right that you're not looking at that really is locking the whole thing in place. And once you get the expanded viewpoint of the thing, it disappears. It basically takes the charge off of it.
That's amazing. And would this have any applications in terms of treatments for things like addictions?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I got a kid I'm going to send to you.
Great. What I do is I look where the thread of the addiction is occurring. And it could occur in any one of our chakras. It could be the third chakra, which is all about your power. So it could be like locked into your power center. It could be locked into your heart if you've got a lot of grief or a lot of loss. And so if you're trying to deal with your power center and your will in relationship to addiction, it's not going to work because you're not looking in the right place.
Oh, got it. Yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It really does. And I'm thinking, too, in terms of, you mentioned a loss, I wonder, would there be an application for it in terms of grief?
Oh, absolutely.
Like even a recent grief, because obviously you're grieving because of this recent event and your loss. So how does that work on that kind of a situation?
Well, let me kind of go through quickly the chakras. So the first chakra is at the base of our spine around our hips, and it has to do with survival issues. It's like we arrive, we survive. That's first chakra information. It is also the information around being nervous or having a lot of anxiety in life. Right now, the whole planet is really in first chakra energy because we're dealing with the anxiety of surviving for humanity on this planet. Then you move to second chakra, which is all about passion. So it becomes 2 points in which energy can move from one place to another. So it's about the emotions and it's about passion. So the first chakra is we're here, we've arrived, we're surviving. Second chakra is, well, now that you're here, what passion are you going to have? What's the energy of living life, like experiencing emotions? Third chakra is all about, can you focus that with intention to whatever it is that you want to create? So that can you use the passionate creativity energy in your second chakra to focus it to actually create something in your world. Then you move up into chakra, and that all has to do with breathing. It has to do with our heart, has to do with this energy called love. And grief is the opposite side of that. What I didn't say is the third chakra, the opposite side of that is basically dealing with power struggles or a sense of shame. Like shame is turning our energy on ourselves. Second chakra is guilt. It's like if you're passionate about something, if the churches, religions can grab that second chakra and have people twist that energy around feeling guilty about being passionate in life and having experiences, then they can control people. Guilt is a good controlling mechanism. Shame is too. It's a little harder because it's a higher chakra and it has to do with people's power. But
Mm.
if you get raised around a lot of shame, somebody can bend that energy back on yourself, and you can start to take your power down because you should be ashamed of what you did. And then when you move into the heart chakra, it's all about grief. So it's a sense of this energy of disconnect, hard to breathe. COVID was all about lighting us up around our heart chakra because we couldn't breathe. COVID was the breathing and some of this is the grief people are experiencing around the extinctions of our, all the critters on this planet and the possible extinction of ourselves. So it's not surprising that we would have some virus come along to really affect our heart chakra area so that we experienced a profound level of, well, I can't breathe, which is also the experience of connection and love.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we move up into the throat chakra, and that's all about criticism. How critical are you? Do you listen and speak? Then we move into the sixth chakra, which is all about our ability to vision what we're creating. The seventh is our connection to the higher self. And if we're closed on the seventh, we're very defensive. 6 people closed around their third eye, they're much into denial. And then we talk about the eighth chakra, and the eighth chakra is our own personal sun above our head, and it is the thread in which all incarnations get morphed into this avatar, this little Scotty dog on this game plan. And when we have our crown open, we can start to tap into, we're much bigger than this personal incarnation. We can tap into possibly the thread that's really strong with some past life that we had that is dictating something for us to learn because we keep repeating it this lifetime. And if you found that you injured, and this happens when I work with people, they have an injury and they keep re-injuring it and keep re-injuring it and keep re-injuring it. It's an energetic component that's not being addressed. They might be able to heal the physical part of it, but they're not seeing. And I've had so many experiences with this where this one guy who he came in and his knee was just bugging him his whole life. And he'd hurt it, he'd injured it. He kept thinking it was because he got a football injury. And I'm like, I think this is deeper than that. So we started looking at it, and he saw himself with an axe, and he was arguing with neighbors or something. And the axe slipped and he cut his knee. The minute he saw that picture and became peaceful about not having to fight with everybody, because he was kind of this kind of person that everybody came around, he had to fight him,
Yeah.
Probably met people like that. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, the minute he experienced the energy around that, the pain disappeared. And he, as far as I know, he hasn't hurt that knee again.
Wow.
So this is the thing, is finding the threads. And we didn't just plop here without some connection.
Yeah.
So I just took off running with that. Did that
No,
answer your
I love it. You're the perfect guest. I love that. I'm not having to pull things out. That's the way
you have to kind of stop, Cheryl.
I just turn you on and let you go.
Exactly.
But I know, that you've had like a lot of experience with this method, and you've had some, high profile clients along with, plenty of regular folks, and including, some of the royal family in the UK. And I know one person that you do name that's pretty well known as Patsy Ramsey, who listeners, you might remember, Patsy Ramsey was the mother of John Benet Ramsey, who was murdered, I believe it was Christmas of 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're right in that time frame here.
Yeah, and we're right here again. I think it was like, wasn't it like Christmas Eve night?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they woke up Christmas morning to find her deceased in the basement. That crime is still unsolved
Right.
according to the
But
law.
they're pretty clear that the Ramseys had nothing to do with it. At the time, they weren't clear about that.
No.
Yeah. But
And that was so sad because I thought, oh my God, they're having to go through this loss and then they're being, under suspicion and, just having to deal with all that pressure. I can't imagine it. I mean, and years later, I lost my own daughter and I can't imagine dealing with anything other than just that. I barely managed to scrape by just dealing with her death, but all this other stuff. And of course, my daughter was not murdered. My daughter died of an illness. So there's a different feeling about all that, I think.
yeah.
And there's probably less guilt around, and my daughter was a young adult. So this was their baby. She was in their care and there's, it's their job to protect her. I can imagine those are the things that would have gone through their heads. It's like
Absolutely. And
and
it's much more than their heads. The whole energetic field of I'm guilty because I didn't protect them brought all this energy until they actually could sort out internally protection, like back off. I'm not really guilty. I'm feeling guilty, but I'm not really guilty that I didn't do it. But that I feel so guilty as a parent, and the horror of it all just energetically called the world in on, well, Patsy did for sure, in on her head. And until she could actually get strong enough in herself to forgive herself. She, sometimes we come down in this particular avatar experience to have a really profound experience of something like forgiveness, something about I didn't do it. Maybe she was falsely accused in a past life. I don't know enough about the exact energy threads that were part of this, but I know that there was a lot about pulling the world in on her head so that she could cocoon and defend herself because it was just such a brutal experience.
Oh my, I can only imagine, but I don't know how people can be so cruel at a time like that anyway, because I mean, nobody, even if you really thought they might be involved, you don't know, obviously. And I doubt that that there was any truth to that at all. But I hope she did find a little bit of relief from that guilt, because that's, I felt guilty when my daughter died. And like I said, she was a grown adult and she was, but I kept thinking, oh, I should have known better. I should have done this or done that, or I don't know. It's really, really hard.
Very, very hard. And especially something like that.
Yeah.
Where they found her right away. If they hadn't found her right away, there might have been more being able to assimilate the something,
right.
She's missing, something's happening. It was such a shock to the system that the whole world caved in on them. And it's fascinating because when you do see murders like that, where all of a sudden all the attention's on the person who was closest to the person who got murdered, but they really had nothing to do with it.
Right.
You can start to see that there is something that is so painful that it feels better to be able to access anger, which is the fourth chakra, instead of living in your heart. If you can access power, like anger, that's a better place.
It feels better.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes people have such grief experience will flip into anger to get themselves out of the heart chakra where it's so painful.
Yeah. And I'm curious, obviously I don't expect you, nor I'm sure would you name any royal family members,
Yeah, I
but
can't.
give an idea of like what are the types of things that they called you for? Was it, uh, or do people just sort of see you like people sometimes go to the chiropractor for an adjustment?
Well, I think how this all came about, I think it was curiosity,
Yeah.
and I got referred. So I think there was a fair amount of curiosity, like, I lived in California at the time, so it was kind of like, yeah, this California woo woo person could come and do something with us. So I think that's where it started. Now, as it developed, there was clearly healing occurring so that there was some recognition that, oh, I actually should use you more than, performing monkey, that I should
Oh,
use
really?
you as somebody that I can access something that's really bugging me. Because one of the things is there's a whole thing about really having to protect oneself or pretend. This is all third chakra power stuff around. We can disassociate from what's really true for us and start running pretending, like almost like a shield in front of us. Like if I pretend that I'm this person and then I'm going to introduce you to this person, I'm hiding behind it.
Yeah.
You can't really get me. You can't really see me. You can't really get me. This work doesn't allow for that pretty much, because what ends up happening is in this multidimensional world that I travel in, I can step back and see what is occurring and then point it out in such a way that people can acknowledge it. Once they acknowledge it, it's kind of the gig's up. It's like, you don't have to pretend. Let's really do some work here. And the thing that is really profound in that world is there's a lot of pretending, and it's a learned behavior, and it's also very protective because everybody's looking at them.
Yeah. There's no way I would trade. No way in hell. No way. Nor with anybody super famous. I just would not be interested in having people interested in my every move.
Yeah, there's almost has to be a break in reality from being authentic and having this, it's like the avatar has a pretend avatar.
Right.
Interact with this thing over here that I'm building a particular reality around it that it's not really true. But what happens is when you forget that it's not true, then you get lost in the persona of it, and life becomes even more complicated.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the world that I was dealing with. And I finally went, I like people who are more in touch with authenticity, congruency.
Right.
It's easier, and it doesn't have the threads of ancient stuff that, just like our DNA, our eye color, our hair color, our body shape, so on and so forth. The ancestry of those power structures are intense. And sometimes people need to just completely break their relationship to it. Like if you look at Andrew and you look at
Harry.
You look at some of the people that have had that break, and it's not easy. But it becomes a place where they just can no longer function within that world. And so they do something drastic.
I mean, and that's the way that it's been throughout history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The royalty and their jewels and their pomp and circumstance and everything. But most of them got killed off pretty young. It didn't last long. And it's like, oh my God, if I had lived at that time, there's no way I would want to have been a royal.
Yeah.
You're only on top for however long you are.
Absolutely. And I think I think my fascination with it and wanting to actually go do some work there when I was invited was just really, I was really curious. I mean, what
Oh
is this
gosh, I would.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it would be too.
Yeah.
Just to be there. I don't know where you were, or if you were in the palace, or
Yeah. I was in a palace. Yeah.
okay, just to look around and look at the interior, and
It's cold, damp. They've
yeah,
got
that it is.
tapestries on the wall to kind of keep the cold dampness into the cement. I don't think I had some good lives in England anyway, because my experience there, you know how when you go into a place and you kind of go, yeah, this
Yeah,
isn't really my favorite place. We have feelers out that we may not be able to completely put our finger on what the experience is, but we're attracted to places and we're repelled from places.
yes,
And if we're repelled from a place, you can pretty much guarantee that you had had some sort of experience there at some point in time, which is leaking through and warning this avatar at this point in time. You might want to
you don't
avoid
want to
that.
be here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had. I'm sure I've had it more than once, but I did have an experience like that in a cathedral in France,
Mm.
Saint Cecile's Cathedral in Albi. Well, what I it was gorgeous. It's beautiful inside, but saw a lot of blues and just very pretty. But what I didn't know at the time that I went in there was that on the second floor was where they tortured the heretics in the Inquisition. So they were actually torturing people in the church. And the one obvious thing about that church is at the end, or near the altar, there's this giant mural, and it's of people burning in hell. And I thought, oh, that's nice.
I know. We're so crazy as
They're all
humans.
like, screaming and writhing in pain. And it's like, oh my God, what an image.
Well,
And
just
that's where the priest stands and gives this sermon.
yeah, the fact that Christianity has the cross that
Yeah.
people wear on their heart, I'm like, what's so twisted about that? Promoting that religion,
Instrument
and
of torture.
that's like, yeah, and it's like this whole conversation of, oh, he died for your sins, but you're a sinner. I just it's there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
And you had asked, I think you had asked, if I remember correctly, Ellie about blood and about the bloodline, because I see the bloodline thing.
Okay.
Um, when I was in this car accident and broke my neck, and I had a conversation with who knows, God, higher self, entity, I don't know, but it was a pretty profound conversation about how we as avatars are built and the different threads of vibration, so that if you want to heal a bone, you have a completely different vibration than if you're healing a muscle, or you're healing the pancreas is very different than healing the heart, very different than healing the kidneys. So you can start to feel these vibrations about all the different organs and how they vibrate and how they relate to our machinery, our avatar machinery. And bone is our densest form of energy. It sticks around long after our soul's gone.
Yeah.
It also is the factory for the blood. So even though the bones stick around, the blood doesn't. The blood is manufactured in our skeletal place. And when we talk about the blood, we are talking about reincarnation. So if you tap into the energy of the blood, like you start to feel blood and how it's moving through the body, you can start to expand your consciousness, so you start to see many, 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 many incarnations. So blood is really relating to incarnations and reincarnations. So when you talk about the bloodline, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right on about track down some of the truth that got buried and again got rewritten and so on and so forth for certain people's storytelling.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've also been fascinated with this whole, royal bloodlines, different royal bloodlines, and how, they worked so hard, to keep their bloodlines pure, even to the point of, having all kinds of, birth defects, like the Habsburgs, for instance. And
that's a cosmic joke. You try to keep your bloodline too pure, man. It's gonna twist you something fierce.
Yeah. Is there anything really different or special about certain bloodlines? Or is it just the fact that that bloodline proves that they're in that family? Their DNA proves that they're in that family. Because, I don't know if you knew, did a movie called Bloodline.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, thank you. And and it was about this whole idea of a bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I spoke with a professor of, he was a statistician at MIT. And he had actually sort of opined on if indeed there was a bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or Jesus and anybody, who would be in it today? And his answer to us was almost everybody. That, it would have gone out. So, because of course there were so much fewer people then, and then we're just, growing around, but we're all rooted back to a relatively small group. And I thought, that's so funny, because there's all these people trying to prove that they're in the holy bloodline, Interesting.
There's other things to be concerned in your life about, for sure.
That's what I would think. I never really wanted to know about my bloodline, because I always figured, it's going to be so boring that, I don't, it'll make me lose my interest in history or something. But
not that there's ever a boring human being, but
that's true. But the problem is that unless it is someone well-known, aristocratic, or something, it's very precious little information about your ancestry. Yeah. So if you are related, no matter how far back, whatever, to someone that's famous, at least you can get some information about that person. Yeah. And my very favorite relative was a necromancer.
Perfect.
And so he got run out. He got exiled to Italy.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Well, if you look at dogs, dog breeds, mutts are much more hardy and much better temperament and much easier to deal with than purebreds. Yes. And, all these kind of the royal lineage who gets their papers because they're pure. Yeah. You don't have to trace back very far to find out that there are a lot of impurities, because, it's just baloney story told. Yeah.
And a lot of illegitimate legitimacy and all that. Yeah.
Probably the only thing that actually has saved the bloodline of the royalty from being totally crazy or deformed somehow is the fact that the gene pool was more collected, so that it wasn't such a straight lineage. Because you can't, just like a breed of dog, you just can't have it be so pure that you're going to end up with dysplasia, hip dysplasia. You're going to end up with the dog being neurotic. You're going to end up with all sorts of problems because somebody tried to generate a pure bloodline.
Yeah. So I must be pretty healthy, because I'm a mutt.
Excellent. We like mutts.
My dogs are mutts. I've got 3 dogs, and they're all mutts, and I'm
perfect.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
But that's a good way to look at it. I never thought about that. Uh,
Yeah, it's a lot healthier than, yeah.
yeah, isn't that funny? Are you familiar with the Baha'i faith?
I've heard of it, but I'm not
It was
all that familiar with
really
it.
like kind of big. I want to say probably back in the 70s, there was a rock group called Seals and Crofts, and they
Oh, yeah.
were Baha'i. And so I think they drew a lot of attention to that group. But I remember I worked at a television station in Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time. And there was one of my colleagues was Baha'i. And so
Mm.
she told me a lot and gave me information about them. And I know one of their things was that they believed children of mixed marriages were especially blessed.
Yeah, I would
And
think
they
so.
said and it's evidenced by their beauty. And,
Mm.
it makes sense just as, lack of deformities, a lack of other things. It would make sense that, they would make a more beautiful person, because they're all together, nothing's messed up. Uh,
You may
like to
want
have
broader, yeah, you want broader, again, this whole multi-dimensions, you want a broader base is going to be a lot more healthy
yeah,
than really narrow.
yeah,
And another thing about our physiology, when we are threatened, our eyesight narrows, and like if you were out in the savannah and you thought you saw tiger or a lion, your eyes would really narrow down to focus to see what the threat model is.
right,
The more you're relaxed, you start to see the whole savannah. So it's part of the work that I do is when I can find people who've really narrowed their consciousness, there's a threat model running in the background. So part of the thing that we're talking about, mutts or whatever, is really this expanded ability to um, take more in of the world. And
yeah,
especially if you're insisting that it has to be narrow, because the threat of your power structure, your wealth, your whatever this incarnation is including is threatened. It's a crazy way to live life. You've got to build up a whole protection. um and if you look at royals, not just in England but everywhere, the whole world of got to dominate, or you've got to protect. It's a particular kind of existence which is very different than the islands where everybody's getting along, peace,
yeah. Where
love,
everybody's
and
on the
yeah.
beach and having a great time.
Yeah.
Now,
So
when you're trying to identify like a particular area of trauma, whether it be in from this current incarnation or from some other incarnation, how do you lead them to it? How do you find out what that is? Because I can only imagine that most people probably don't know what it is.
no, they don't. And they'll start to tell me a story, because they've got it worked out in their mind to
Right.
a
And
certain
it's
level.
completely different.
Yeah. And the story will take you completely away from really what's going on for the most part. And though the story does have some truth things that I can lock onto. But what I usually do is have somebody close their eyes and have them go to the part of that they're feeling some energy. And then we expand their awareness around the energy, and that energy is rich with information. And so then I start to share what it is that I see in that particular area of the body. And there's a resonance when it's right on. The person is like, oh, yeah, yeah, I can see that. And then what we do is we take a measurement from 0 to 10, 10 meaning that it's really intense and they can barely stay in their body experiencing what they're experiencing. And we work the charge down to 0. And there's also tools that I use to work the charge down to 0 until it just disappears. And the person's like, wow, that's not even bothering me anymore. They're like, I can't, was I all upset? That's usually how people relate. They go, I was really upset about that. I said, yeah, you were having a really hard time around this, and it kept reoccurring. When we have that much charge on something, it reoccurs over and over and over and over in our universe. So that it's like a wound that, you every time you hit it, it hurts, it hurts, it
Yeah.
hurts, it hurts. And so basically what I do is I take a different approach than just the story about how you got wounded. I'll take a look at the whole aspect of the wound. Sometimes what comes up real loud and clear is a previous life where that got wounded and it never got healed. Not on all levels. It might have healed on the physical level, but never got healed on the emotional and all the other pieces.
Right.
So that's the multi-dimension part of it. So once somebody can actually kind of expand their awareness out, so they start to see all the different aspects of it, they can take the charge off of something really quickly. And it really, people have had miracles. They've just not had the problem again, ever.
Wow.
They completed it. Because I'm asserting that part of our incarnation here is to complete some of the, this avatar's existence, to complete some of the stuff that never got completed.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. I hope I'm doing enough.
Yeah, well, we have a higher, we all already automatically have a higher dimension of understanding because we're in a different avatar. So we can see it from a different perspective. So as long, and you're curious and you're growing in that realm so that you can keep adding more threads of understanding to, glean more and more awareness. People who are really shut down, defensive, shut their crown chakra off, they have a much harder time because then they've got to defend the story they made, or they've got to be in denial, and it's not going to provide healing.
That's so amazing. I mean, just so many things are going through my head on like, oh, I could work on this. I could work on that. I could. There's a lot there, Miss Cheryl.
Yeah, we don't get to our age without, just kind of bringing up all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and what I was just thinking about that. I was thinking that if it's too bad I couldn't have like gotten a little bit further along a little bit earlier. In my life, but I think we're all subject to whatever programming that we had, and especially if you had any kind of religious training or background, that one is a real toughie because it does involve a lot of guilt and shame and fear. Fear is a biggie, and I can remember like back in I think it was 1982. When there was a book called Holy Blood, Holy Grail came out. And it was the first time I heard about the idea of a possible marriage of Jesus. And what it said, or what, the book purported to say was that, he was married. Mary Magdalene was never this prostitute, that she was actually a teacher. They worked side by side. And, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm probably going to go straight to hell. But I liked it, and I thought, oh my God, because, growing up at that time, it was just accepted that it's kind of better to be a boy. You get more breaks, you get higher pay, you get, more recognition, or, anytime you excel in class or anything. And if a girl's excelling in class, it's just like, well, you're supposed to be studious. You're supposed to, but, so it's like, and any time that we had a student government election, it was always a boy that was the president, and, you knew that you could only run for like secretary or treasurer, and, but it wasn't even like it didn't even feel like a put down. Like, oh, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I want
Much
to be the
like I
best secretary I could possibly be.
exactly. It's like, oh, I can be secretary. It was like much like I think, kids that maybe are brought up in an abusive environment
Yeah.
and they just think that's the way everybody's family is.
Yep.
I think it was sort of one of those kind of situations. It's like you don't really know it until you start getting a glimpse
Yes.
of something else. And I remember it was really exciting to me to think that, wow, maybe Mary Magdalene was really something. And maybe,
I'm sure she was.
yeah,
I'm
and
sure she was.
maybe, by sort of restoring her to her place in history, in some way elevates all women.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what really hooked me. But yet that's what scared the poop out of me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go
I'm gonna
straight
get in
to hell.
trouble for thinking and expanding my awareness. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
absolutely.
just like after now decades more of reading, studying, reasoning, it's like, well, of course it's okay to explore these ideas.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I have nothing to fear or worry about. And, I was brought up in a small town, like, I think there was like 1,200 people in the town I grew up in. I later worked in a building that held 10 times that, that amount.
Well, the church has a lot of history and a lot of power
Oh
in
boy.
their history of their structure. So, and second chakra, man, you get after people around their second chakra, you can control them pretty easy, pretty young.
Yes. Yes. I
Unless
would imagine.
people have a complete break with, I don't care how guilty I am, and a lot of times people will do that. They'll jump straight out of their second chakra going, you can't get me around guilt anymore. But then they've got pathological problems because they're not fully aligned. So they're only working from their third chakra, which is power. And, we have a former president who's a perfect example of that. He knows how to use his third chakra. He can bully. He can act as a victim. He can act as a martyr. These are all the things that how people express their power. He can be an armchair critic, meaning that he's not actively engaged,
Right.
so on and so forth. But he's not connected into his heart. So he skipped. He's got his power center going, and he's got his throat chakra going into his heart.
Yeah. And, and I certainly don't mean to offend anyone at all, but, it's like the point I have come to in my mind is that, there's a huge difference between spirituality and religion.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
I think spirituality is where we need to be because that's our own personal relationship with
Yes.
God, with our own higher self. I mean, what could be more important? I can't believe we are so down to the wire, and I don't want to let you get away without telling people how they can get home. Now, you have a clinic in Nevada?
I had a healing center that I sold.
Oh, you
So for
did?
COVID, yeah, so I'm not running my healing center anymore. I am out now online doing healing work, and people can. It's really simple. People can just get me by Cheryl, Cheryl, at blossomingwisdom.com. They can just send me a message. I'll get back with them, and I do an interview. So there's no obligation for future work or anything like that. I do an interview to find out if the work we could do together would make a difference. And so if people are curious and they want to find out more, they just contact me. And
Just drop you a link. Well, I put the banner up on the screen.
I see that.
For those of you that are viewing us, and those of you that are only listening, once again, it's Cheryl, Cheryl, at blossomingwisdom.com.
Yeah.
You'll be able to get her. That's good. Well, I do hope, you'll agree to come back sometime.
Yeah.
Visit with us more.
We didn't really get into some of the experiences I've had working with people, which is fascinating. One of the things
and you definitely have to come back. I mean, there's so much, that we could talk about.
It was kind of fun talking about the chakras and the different experiences around that. But yeah, the work that I've done and the experiences I've had is, without a doubt, I just know the reality that we are much more than this incarnation. There's just too many times where people, and I think everybody's had the experience of, you meet somebody and you really, really like them.
Mm-hmm.
Or you meet somebody and you hate them.
Yes.
And we're not neutral. That we've been around the block before.
Yeah.
So we're collecting more information than we give ourselves permission to understand or sort through. And so the work that I do is really allowing people to sort through all those threads of information that's coming in, so that you get more clear and accurate.
That's what we need.
Absolutely.
So, at blossomingwisdom.com. And oh my goodness, we are all out of time. I want to thank you so much, Cheryl. And I'm going to have to send Ellie a little thank you note for connecting us.
I know. How sweet is that? I love that. I love that. Well, we'll have to do some work if you're interested.
I would love it.
Yeah, just let me know. Just, send me a note and we can set up a time and I can give you a full-on demonstration of the work I do.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And I want you to come back again on the show as well.
Excellent. All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.